Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor and today I have the Norsevember Tag. This tag was created by Faye at Books and Chocoholic and I'll leave her video for this tag linked down below. I am not taking part in Norsevember this year. I just wasn't organised and didn't have any books and yeah, didn't take part. But I really enjoyed Faye's tag. Faye invited me to do this tag anyway, even though I'm not taking part in the read-along. But I thought the creations were really fun and interesting, and I might have some interesting books for you. So the first question, obviously, I struggled to find a book for this. The first question is Longships, so a book set at sea. I was really surprised to find out that I don't think I've read any books set at sea, which I'll need to fix at some point in the future. The closest I could come was The Mermaid by Christina Henry, which is about a mermaid, and it's partially set at the coast. And oh my goodness, first interruption of the day. My cat Kelsfer climbing all over me. You gonna steal the show? It's about a mermaid, partially set at sea, but it's more so about this mermaid journey on land and her joining a kind of circus. I think it's about P.T. Barnum and his circus that he did, and she becomes the mermaid attraction at the circus. So this was the closest I could come to a book set at sea. The next question is Horned Helmets, a book with a lot of metaphors. I went with Exaltation Stories by Ted Chiang, which is a short story collection and it's science fiction based. I struggled with this because I know what metaphors are, but trying to actually recall a book in particular that was heavy on the metaphor, that's not how I read, so I was struggling to find a book that fit that. But I went with Exaltation Stories because a lot of these stories are they require a lot of internal reflection and they're really interesting, and they're all different because they're science fiction based, but I thought that book fit this prompt. The next question number 3, was Spread Eagle, a gruesome book, and I went with World War Z by Max Brooks. This is a truly gruesome book. This is quite an unusual formatted story. So it's a zombie apocalypse books, but it's set a little bit after the outbreaks happened, and it's like a journalist has gone round and he's collected accounts of the outbreak from individual people. So it's from everyone from all walks of life all across the world, and it's their account of coming across zombies for the first time, and it's so well done, but it's utterly gruesome, very violent. The film, god awful, and nothing to do with the book whatsoever. Do not place this book in the same category as that film. Read this book. If you enjoy zombie stories, if you like really violent and gory things, I just thought the way this was portrayed, it was very much like a historical record of a zombie apocalypse, and I thought it was really well done. The next question number 4, was Sheild Maiden, a book with badass ladies. Now, this is another one I was disappointed to find that I struggled to find a book that would fit this prompt, because I read mostly science fiction and fantasy, but a lot of them have really strong, badass women at the forefront, and that was really sad for me to find out. And the book I went with for this question was Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection, and I found it so powerful. It's a book that crosses over quite a few genres, so it's short stories, it's horror, fantasy, feminism, magical realism. It crosses a lot of borders, and it is such a feministic book. It's full of, hello, crazy, causing havoc. It's one of those books, I think you have to just read it, but I can't even describe it. It's just such a feministic story, and it's about these women reclaiming their identities and there's lots and lots of trigger warnings associated with this book, so please do read up on it and check before you go into it, because it's a lot about abuse, about with men, a lot of really, really dangerous situations that these women are in, but it's the women reclaiming their identities, and it was such a powerful book. And it might not be badass ladies in the sense of like fist fighting action, which is maybe what some people would answer for this question, but this was the first book that came to mind for this, and I just think it's a very impactful book, and I think most people should read it. Can you just maybe sit with me? Do you like a cuddle? The next question is The Halls of Valhalla, a book about death. I took this very literally because, well, there's a few books out of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series that I could have gone with, but they're like fun comedy books, and I read and talk about Terry Pratchett quite a lot. But a book that is literally about death, that I thought fit this, and it really tackles like grief, was, please don't touch my laptop, you're gonna delete all my answers. The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This book was a very harrowing read, very, very upsetting. The film is really good as well, so if you're not interested in the book, definitely watch the film. It's really well done, and I love Saoirse Ronan, the actress who plays the young girl. I can't remember her name now. But yeah, this is a story about a young girl who gets lured away by someone she thinks and thought she knew, and she is brutally assaulted and murdered. And the book follows her in her journey in the afterlife and coming to accept that she has died and has been murdered, but it also follows her family and their stages of grief and them trying to find out who has done this to their daughter. And it is a really good... don't... He likes my dangly earrings. I'm talking about a really serious book here, and you're attacking my dangly earrings. I know you like feathers, but please don't rip my ears out. Forgot what else I was going to say. But yeah, it's just a really, really good book, and I would recommend it. And maybe I had more to say, but Calcifer has ruined my train of thought. The next question, number 6, is Odin, a book with gods at the centre. And I'm afraid for this one, I'm going to have to copy Faye and say American Gods by Neil Gaiman, because what more perfect a book for this question, because this is about Norse mythology, Norse gods, which is the Norsevember Tag and the Norsevember readathon. Can't get my words out. So I don't even know how to describe this. A man called Shadow has just been released from prison after being in for a couple of years. He finds out his wife is dead after an accident, and he gets approached by a man called Mr. Wednesday, and it's all about how the Norse gods live among us in America, and that they still have powers, but it's very strange. It's very like surreal. And it's just a very odd story. And if you've read Neil Gaiman before, you know exactly what I mean. But this is a really, really long book. I can't even... Yeah, it's like over 600 pages. It's a massive book. But it was really good. I tried to watch the TV show, but this isn't a book I would have thought I would like because of... Yeah, because it was following like a criminal and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not really into watching TV shows, so I don't really stick out watching the show. But the book was great. But also, an equally perfect book for this question is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. That's exactly what it is. It's Neil Gaiman writing the Norse mythology tales in a concise format, and I enjoyed it. I liked the way he wrote them out, and yeah, this is more not non-fiction because obviously, but yeah, but it's like the original mythology and not like a fanciful story about the mythology. I have no words today. I'm all mints today. The next question was The Nine Realms, a book set in another world, but I'm just going to go with His Dark Materials trilogy in general because it really is set in another world. In this first book, you're following Lyra as she discovers that there's lots going on in her world, and she has to find the truth about something called dust. She's in a parallel version of Earth. Like, they have different ways of talking about what electricity is. They also have like demons, which are pets, but not really pets, but like it's an externalization of their soul. I really love this series, and Calcifer keeps pressing my keyboard and pushing all the buttons. I really love this series. It's back in the spotlight just now because the TV series is out and season 2 has just started. And I really enjoy this. I quite like the world building. I think it's an interesting story, and I like Lyra as a character. So that was my answer for that. And question number 8 was Mitgard, a book set in our world. And I've gone with Women of the Dunes by Sarah Main. I don't really read any contemporary, so it's rare to get a book set in our world that's not like an urban fantasy or like a science fiction, because that's all I read. This is one of the few exceptions. Sarah Main is a British author, and this book is set up north in Scotland, and it's about an archaeologist who's on an archaeological dig, and she's looking at a scene from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and she's trying to work out what happened in the historical context of that. But also there's a murder committed present day, and it's balancing between this archaeologist trying to work out what's going on, and also it flashes back in time to the original people that she's looking at in the archaeological dig, if I remember correctly. It's also very light romance, but I just loved the setting of this. It's set up in Ulness in Scotland. It's a beautiful setting. I've not read many books set in Scotland, written by a British author, so it's more authentic. No offence to anyone else writing about Scotland, but Highland romances. Ugh. I just think it's a really lovely story, and it's not really one I would normally pick up, but I really would recommend it. I think it was really well done, and I loved the 2 different time periods like melding together, and I thought it was well executed. So this was my one for setting world, and it's actually set in Scotland. And the next question was number 9, Loki, a book that deceived you. Now, this would be a great book to this would be a great question to have like a mystery or like a crime novel or something like that, but I don't really read them either. So I've gone, this might be a strange choice, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And this deceived me because I really wanted to read it because there was so much hype about it, but I did not know if I was going to like it. This book is set in the 80s, and there's so much, what do you call it? It's so full of 80s references in terms of like pop culture and like video games and books and films, and it's so 80s heavy, and I really don't know anything about the 80s, so I was really concerned that I wouldn't like this and I wouldn't get it because I don't get the references. But I feel like even regardless of the references, this was such a good story that it didn't matter. Like, maybe if you know a lot about the 80s or you grew up in the 80s, this is the best book ever because you get all the references and it has so much nostalgia for you. So yeah, I really feel like regardless of all the 80s references and things like that, it is still a fun, engaging read if you don't know anything about it. Yeah, it's just a sci-fi story set in like 2044 or something like that, and a guy who's made this like utopia within a virtual world has just died, and his last dying thing is that he's set up a big puzzle, and you have to, and if you win the puzzle and solve it, you win the rights to his company or something like that. So it's this virtual world called the Oasis, and everyone's just living in virtual reality. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read Ready Player 2. I pre-ordered my copy, and it's going to come out when it's released. And the very last question is The Frozen North, a book with a cold setting, and I could not find a more perfect book than The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is set in like 15th or 16th Russia, and it's predominantly set in winter, and Catherine Arden is such a brilliant writer. You feel the cold in your very being when you're reading this. It's like -30, the snow's up to your eyes, and you're in such a setting that, you know, you're staving off frostbite with like a fire, and you're sitting there and you're chittering with them, you're freezing with them. This is such a good story. It's so whimsical and so fairy tale like. You're following a young girl in the beginning, called Vasya. And in the very beginning of the story, it's a very slow start. You're following her through a few years of her life as she's growing up. She can see and interact with the stories and the fairy tales of that time, the beliefs of that time. She can see them because she has magic, and no one else can believe her, and they believe her a witch, and she's ostracised from that, and her adventure goes from there. And I've only read the first 2 books in the series. I need to finish the trilogy, but this definitely has a cold setting. So that's all the books I've got for this tag, all 10 of them. I would encourage you to do this tag. I'm not going to tag anyone because I'm not actually taking part in the Norsevember readathon, so I think it would be a bit weird for me to tag other people. But I really enjoyed this, and I would encourage you to do it anyway because the questions were great, and yeah, Faye's created such a brilliant tag, and I think it's a really good selection of books that aren't necessarily all Norse mythology themed. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think of them. Or if you've done this tag, let me know, because I'd love to watch your video. And Calcifer and I will say goodbye. You've stopped causing havoc, haven't you? Just a little bit. So say goodbye for now. So thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and comment on this video and subscribe if you aren't already. All my social medias are always linked in the description. And I'll see you later. Bye.